All right. Well, I'll kick things off. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Techlore Talks 4. I'm Henry,
I'm Jonah.
and we're both a part of Techlore. And today we're going to talk about moderation online, censorship, kind of hot topics nowadays. And we're going to try to unpack things as well as we can back here, and hopefully have some important insight, and hopefully have good discussions today.
Yeah,
So this discussion starts because I was suspended on Twitter. And we laugh about it back here because it's kind of like ridiculous because like we always talk about other people being suspended on Twitter. And it finally happened to me. And it's like I still don't know what I did. And we put out a video if you haven't already seen it, kind of talking about what happened there. But long story short, can I speak for both of us when I say our stances on social media moderation is Twitter can ban whoever they want because it's their platform and they can have their rules.
yep, makes sense.
Yeah. So I still stick by that because it makes sense to me because they're a private company and it's their platform and they can control how their platform is moderated. So what's really the problem here? Because I disagree with what they did to me. And I think that's what people do is like they get banned off these platforms for saying something or something bad happens and they go, oh, well, this is because they don't accept all opinions. And it's like, well, they don't have to accept all opinions. That's not what they're promising you. So what's really the problem here?
Right. It's weird. It has to come down to like transparency, with how these rules are applied. I think the issue is in your case, you have no idea what you've done wrong. And that's not really helpful for either party because how can you, if there was a violation of the rules in their eyes, how could you possibly know how to fix that going forward? Um, you'd have no way of knowing. Um, I mean, you just have no way of knowing what their issue is if they don't tell you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they had me submit an appeal. And as I'm filling it out, I'm like, well, what am I appealing? Like they told me to do an appeal of why I didn't break the Twitter rules, and it's like, well, I don't know what Twitter rule I broke, so what am I appealing? All I did was like, I'm not sure what I did wrong, kind of appeal. But for those who didn't watch the video, there's two other accounts that were suspended as well. One of them is from a web developer who's pretty well known in the community. In fact, lots of Twitter employees probably know this person. They were suspended. And then we also have Panquake, who's a Twitter alternative, who also got suspended. I think Panquake received an actual reason, but my suspension was exactly the same as the developers, which is their responses were like weirdly hidden for the week leading up to the suspension. It was like kind of like a shadow ban of sorts. Um, no explanation, no notification. He actually reached out to Twitter support and they told him they don't shadow ban people,
Yeah.
despite all his replies being hidden on his own tweets and other people's tweets, which is the same thing that happened to me. I posted like a 4 tweet thread and all the tweets were hidden except the top one.
Hmm.
Bizarre. So I think you're right. The transparency is what's really mind-boggling to me because like if I got banned, it's fine. I still acknowledge I got banned and I'm not expecting to get the account back, which is fine because Twitter's just candy points and like what's it good for? Like Twitter doesn't add any value to
Yeah.
the world. It's just like I think it actually is detrimental because it tries to condense complex topics into these short little microblogs, which I don't think is overall a good thing. But either way, like it doesn't add that much value to the world. But what do you think about the argument regarding these platforms being a public service? Because I know that's a big thing that's being talked about right now in politics. Of at this point, these platforms are so huge and they're such a necessity nowadays that these platforms effectively are becoming a public service. Is there merit to that?
I think there's some merit to that argument. Um, I think I think my personal belief is that it should kind of come down to like having set rules and following them as far as like transparency goes. Like because I mean, Twitter's used by so many people. It's used by politicians, to reach like massive audiences to like spread, in some cases, important messages. I know like there's some emergency services that operate solely on Twitter, for example, to like alert people of ongoing events. Um, so it's definitely used by a lot of people to reach a huge audience, and some of that is more critical than others. I think just because it's free and so accessible to so many people. Um, so it's frustrating when they do things that hinder that in some way, for no apparent reason, right?
Oh yeah, so you're almost looking at it from like the Twitter perspective. I was looking at it from like the end user perspective.
I think I think like as an end user, you shouldn't have the expectation to go on the internet anywhere and do whatever you want, right? But I think that if you do something wrong, I think you should probably have the expectation to at least be aware of what you did wrong,
True.
if that
That's a
makes
good point.
sense.
And also have the expectation that there might be consequences because I think that's where freedom of speech gets really misunderstood by a lot of people. You can go out in the street and say whatever you want to anyone, right? No one's stopping you from doing that.
Right.
But if someone says something back to you you don't like, that's called a consequence for your action. And in society, there's consequences for your actions. There is legitimate freedom of speech concerns that I'm not going to try to downplay, but I think a lot of people who, I mean, I'm going to go there. Like, Alex Jones, my dude, you got sued by someone privately. The government had nothing to do with what happened with Alex Jones, and people think it's a freedom of speech issue. And it's like, no, he said things that hurt other people. Let's say they may or may not have hurt other people. And those people went through proper legal channels to privately try to hold them accountable. And they won. That's all that happened there. I don't know how that's even a freedom of speech issue. Um, so I think it's really bizarre when people think they can just go on any platform online, do whatever they want, and then not expect to see consequences. Especially when if we're having the is it a public service debate? They're not
Hmm.
public services in law. Twitter can ban whoever they want. They can do whatever
Right.
they want, as well as any other social media platform. And this goes into our platforms too. Because, like, we ban people on our platforms and they go, oh my God, so much for caring about freedom of speech. And it's like, A, we've never claimed to necessarily be a freedom of speech community. That was
Right.
implied on your end. When you join, there's a reason you're given rules that you have to join and accept. And also, if you violate the rules, you should expect to see consequences. So it goes both ways, the whole freedom of speech thing, because if you believe in freedom of speech for the individual, you should also have to believe in freedom of speech for these private entities that you are trying to be a part of that you don't have to be a part of.
Hmm.
Is there something there that you disagree with, agree with? You have anything to
No,
add on
I agree with all of that for sure. There's no obligation on anyone's end to host your speech, basically. Um, and I mean, if you don't like it, you can start your own website, start your own Twitter,
exactly.
which
That's
some people are doing, of course.
yeah. And what's funny is you have things like Parler, which actually go out of their way to advertise free speech, but people get banned on Parler too. Like there is really no I don't there is not a single like completely unmoderated platform that I know of. Every platform requires some level of moderation to exist. Unless it's like completely federated or something that's completely self-hosted by
Yeah, I
someone.
mean, you could host things on the Tor network, for example,
Uh-huh.
but I
So
mean,
what would
pretty much anything mainstream is going to be moderated, that's for sure.
yeah, and I love that where this is going because this is going to be a hot take in the privacy community. I think anonymity on the internet is actually terrible. Not from a privacy perspective, from like a human perspective. I feel like
Hmm.
anonymity allows people to say things without consequences, do things that it's a double-edged sword because on one hand anonymity allows you to be maybe more of an authentic organic self that you might not otherwise get to express in the real world. Like you're not going to say some things in person that you're going to say on the internet, which I think in itself is kind of a beautiful thing, but that's also what makes the internet generally a very toxic place because people can say and do things without as many consequences and they're all behind a keyboard, it's all digital. And so I think it really introduces this whole concept of like, well, there are genuine downsides to anonymity on the internet. And I do like to envision an internet where like you have a central identity. This is not a privacy discussion at this point because I'm completely against this from a privacy perspective. But like, what if everyone just had a central identity on the internet? They can only have one account for everything, and everything was directly tied to you. I think the internet would be a much better place.
I think there could be some platforms that could work for sure. Um, it's definitely a double-edged sword, like you said, because on the one hand, people abuse anonymity to post whatever they want online, right? And post hateful content, that kind type of thing. But there's also people who need to get a message out, and their problem isn't the message that they're trying to send. They might be trying to send a good message. Their problem is who they are, and hiding their identity behind an anonymous profile is the only way that they'd be able to spread that message because they'd otherwise be attacked for who they are rather than what they're saying. So it's a tricky problem for sure, which
Yeah,
obviously has no clear answers.
no, I agree. It's a good point. Because yes, this is what we talk about. Like, if you're a whistleblower, you got to have an outlet to be able to like privately get your message out there. I just like to think like, what would Reddit be like if everyone who left a comment on Reddit, it was them? Like, it was their first and last name. Your friends can go and look at your Reddit account and see the stuff you say and do to people. Like, I think people would be a lot less like toxic
Hmm.
on Reddit
Yeah,
if that was the case.
I think in like a perfect world, somebody would be able to make a community where they could require that as the community manager if they wanted that, because for a lot of discussions that is genuinely helpful. Um, but then you'd still have the option elsewhere to host anonymous content if you wanted to, or host like a standard Reddit form. Um,
Yeah.
for example, the issue with that is it's more of how you do that privately, obviously, because who's
Yeah.
going to be verifying all those identities? And I think that's the reason that this hasn't been actually implemented anywhere in practice.
Yeah, and it's a bummer. Like, it's a place where security and privacy become the bottleneck of a really cool concept becoming a reality, which I think is actually a lot of things. We hear about so many cool projects like on surveillance report that have good intentions at least, but we cover them because it's like, yes, this technology looks cool. We see this all the time. Like, Apple releases a super cool feature, and we're like, yeah, this is cool, but like,
Hmm.
what are the privacy implications of this? Same with Google. Like, all these big tech companies, and really most startup companies, and most of the money that's being poured into projects nowadays are all into these really cool tech concepts. And for us, it's all just like, well, what's the privacy implication of this? And it really sucks when security and privacy are kind of the bottleneck for a lot of these things.
Hmm.
Because I probably wouldn't join it, but it would be a really cool experiment to see what a community online would look like with real identified people. Um, and this is obviously like a very opposite thing for what I would want from a privacy perspective. But theoretically, let's say it was not privacy invasive. Everything you posted was on your own dime, right? Like, you post it. There's no data collection outside of what you post. Let's say this was like IRL verified. Let's say you have to set up, like, I set up an office outside my house. People come here in person. I look at their ID. I give them a YubiKey that gives them access to their account, that gives them a permanent name attached to their YubiKey. And that's the only way they can log into that account. They can't change their name. They can't change anything. It doesn't include an age. It just has a first and last name. And we can also hook it up with like mutual friends. You have to bring two friends along. So like, it's a party thing. So like, no matter what, you have some kind of like pressure, social pressure to like have to be a somewhat decent human being. It's dystopian. It's super dystopian. Like, I know it's dystopian. I just think it's an interesting thought experiment to see what that would look like. And I think it demonstrates just the bad side of anonymity on the internet, which overall I think is a net good.
Hmm.
But yeah. Um, you moderate a lot of communities. You help moderate our communities on the forum and
Yes.
on Discord. You also do stuff on privacy guides. What's it like? I have thoughts too because I also help moderate this. But what is the experience like moderating things from a moderator admin perspective? Because I don't think people normally get that perspective. They just join the communities and they're in the communities.
Right. It's definitely nice having a clear set of rules to follow. Um, if you're able to point to like a reason that somebody has to be removed from a community, it's a lot easier to go that route. Um, it's um, I guess it's mostly just a matter of having good moderators
The moderators do
to
take,
handle all that stuff because it is a constant like job basically.
yeah.
It takes a lot of time.
And like what you said earlier, it's beneficial for both parties because I don't like banning people. I hate it. It's like one of my least favorite things is having to ban someone because I know they're upset and I know they just want to be a part of the community. Unless they're like genuinely there to just cause problems, which
Hmm.
I don't think most bans are. Most bans are just people who like clearly do not understand the rules, but they want to try to be there in their own way. Um, and when you don't cite a rule, they're just like, that sucks. Like I can't imagine not citing a rule when you ban someone
Right.
because like then they know like why they got banned. And if they go to other communities, they're gonna be like, well, why'd you get banned? And they're like, they just banned me. And it's like, no, because you violated rule X when you did
Exactly.
Y.
This is exactly your Twitter situation.
This is my Twitter situation. Twitter did that to me. But they didn't give me the what I consider the bare minimum of telling me why I was banned.
Right, right.
Um, who knows? Maybe I really like to think because so many people have been getting suspended. I don't know if it's a mistake or an error. I like to think it's an error, and maybe they're gonna fix it. But I'm not being optimistic. It just doesn't make sense to me how everything went down and how someone else had the exact same issue, and neither of us really knew what we did. Like I went through all the rules and I'm like, none of these seem like what I did. I did say one thing where I, because privacy tools IO
Hmm.
um, listed NordVPN and all these affiliate things, and they delisted IVPN and Molvad, and they're clearly going a complete money route,
Right.
which is the only thing they're doing. And I was tweeting about it. I'm like, hey, just so everyone knows, IVPN Molvad were delisted from Privacy Tools IO. I think I said word for word. I'll let you decide what that means for yourself, or something like that. Like it was very like offhand. And the PTIO, and I never know his name. But the PTIO account got back and they're like, I don't know, they were having some kind of discussions, but I pretty much responded with a thread, and on the last tweet I said you're going in the direction of the best VPN.coms and the other review sites on the internet, and you will die with them. That's the only tweet I said that I could see maybe getting
Interesting.
me suspended because maybe they could interpret it as like a threat, but like they never cited a tweet. That tweet still stayed up. Normally, what Twitter does is they delete a tweet.
Delete that tweet, yeah.
Yes, and then they warn people like this tweet contains harmful information. They never did that with that tweet. That tweet was never specifically called out in any way. It's just my entire account had all the replies hidden, and then boom, I was suspended a few days later.
Yeah, I didn't see
So
that tweet. That's really interesting. But it is weird. It's really weird the way that yours went down because it's not like any other Twitter suspensions
yeah,
that
until I
I've ever
saw the other
seen.
people's.
Which
Yeah,
is yeah, which
so
is
I'm thinking it
exactly
might
the
be a new
same
thing.
time frame, right? I mean, when was that guy banned?
Yeah, pretty
It
recent.
was just
The last
the
few weeks
last,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, I think okay. So going back to what you said about moderators, the moderators I think really are what make it possible in real time communities. Discord, Matrix, we can't
Hmm.
be online all day reading through thousands of messages. That's just ridiculous. And so like the moderators are what take I think a lot of they are the real work behind these things. Um, and so like I'm always appreciative of the moderators we have, and it's cool how ever since we removed Matrix, our moderation has been considerably better. Like
Yeah.
there this we have internally we have the moderation chats for people listening. There's a general and a serious chat. The serious chat with Matrix probably like multiple times a day was like discussions. Now it's not uncommon for us to go like almost a week with no messages sent in Sirius, just because there's like nothing to report on, and any bans are just instant bans that we don't even have to discuss or anything. It's been so much better since removing Matrix. Not that there aren't Discord issues, not that there aren't moderation issues on Discord, but it's been getting better. And that's actually a cool thing about our forum is that only Jonah and I have really been moderating our forum, and it's been like super easy to moderate because there's so many auto moderation um, things on the forum.
That's exactly what I was just going to bring up as another thing. I think the tool sets that are available to like monitor and manage your communities are huge. That's exactly the issue with Matrix. With Matrix, it wasn't a manpower issue. It was a it was a just very difficult to moderate technically because there were a lot of spam bots. The Federation kind of brings that sort of stuff inherently, but some platforms like Mastodon have better tools to deal with that than others. Um, and there's just not a lot of like moderation tools besides a single bot on Matrix side, whereas Discord has a ton of like different automations and stuff that you can do, and a lot of like account verification stuff on their end, which is of course the benefit of a centralized platform, and kind of brings you back to that like having a verified identity argument earlier. But of course, there's
Yeah,
privacy concerns there, so you can never really win.
yeah, exactly. That's one thing that's nice about Discord. We don't do this, but you can require the server to require a phone number, which is in this day and age the closest thing you can get to
Hmm.
verifying an identity without uploading an ID. We don't do that, but even if you register with a VPN or anything on Discord, might still ask for a phone number. That's not from us. We only require an email. Um, but you're totally right. Like moderation on Matrix, that's where the federation and the privacy and the anonymity of creating just unlimited Matrix accounts like that. And if you get blocked on a home server, you can just host your own home server, and then boom, you're good to go.
Hmm.
It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, moderation on Matrix pretty much requires you in a lot of ways to like partially break the federated model. It almost makes more sense, in my opinion, if to have that bot you were talking about on Matrix just auto ban every home server outside of like the main five home servers. Be like, if you're not on those home servers, like we're not going to let you in,
Hmm.
because at least those home servers generally have their own moderation. Like I know matrix.org does have some layer of moderation.
Yeah, they have pretty strict moderation rules from what I hear.
Yeah. I know
Um,
Mozilla does.
I think it's very similar actually, because they're hosted by the same people. I think Matrix.org helps out with Mozilla servers a lot.
Oh, okay. A throwback to when Mozilla blocked everyone in your room.
Yeah, they banned our whole home server like 2 years ago. That was something. They've had like 100 members at once for no reason. People were pretty upset about that. We had to get in touch with them. That was a while
Yeah.
ago.
Time
I
flies.
think Matrix is still in the it's obviously still in the early days of like being a communications platform. I mean, it reminds you of email like 10, 15 years ago where there were just like open email servers on the internet and you could like use them to send email, relay email from them to anywhere you want. That's that were constantly used for spam. I feel like there's probably a lot of Matrix home servers that were set up, probably with open registration. Maybe the admin doesn't even know, and then these bots take advantage of that kind of thing to create a bunch of accounts. I think there's some security and some anti-bot work that probably needs to go on with Matrix for it to be a bit better from a moderation perspective.
Yeah. Well, how's moderation been over? Because I know you still have privacy guides going over there, and privacy
Yeah,
guides got a forum now. So is your experience with privacy guides similar to ours on Techlore?
we've actually had uh, a lot different of an experience on Matrix. I think our Matrix community seems to be going a lot better. It's probably because it's smaller, and I think we don't drive as many people to our Matrix community, so it's a lot more people that like seek it out specifically who probably tend to be uh, more technical, probably already on Matrix. I don't think anyone is joining Matrix just to interact with our community, basically. Whereas it was probably more of a draw for the Techlore audience
Got it.
because Techlore was certainly a lot bigger.
Yeah. No, we had. Well, it was hard to tell because there was also the bridge. I think that's an important thing to talk about too. The bridge
Hmm.
because we bridged Matrix and Discord, which did make moderation harder as well. But it was hard to tell. But the Matrix numbers were always weird. We had like 24,000 people in our room, and then they updated it because that wasn't right, and then it was like a few thousand,
Yeah.
and then it went to like 10,000. I never knew how many people were in our Matrix community.
Yeah, Matrix does not have as clear like engagement tools that Discord has. Like Discord, you can see all your stats and stuff. In the forum, obviously, you can see like how many users you have, how many people are engaged, but there's no insight into Matrix. I think the room count might, like the member count might still be bugged. So,
Interesting. It's interesting because you and I know the new oil, most other Matrix communities seem to have been fine for moderation. When I say fine, like they still have issues, but
mhm.
we really dealt with a lot of issues on Matrix. Like
Um,
serious issues, like gore, um, minors being sent in the chat. That was a frequent thing. Like we dealt with so many issues on the Matrix side of things, and like
since the
that
Techlore
factors.
stuff, there
Yeah, go
there
ahead.
has been a lot of like moderation efforts going on in Matrix since like we left too. So there's that to keep in mind. Like privacy guides and the new oil and a bunch of other rooms are all part of like a shared ban list where like if somebody spams stuff like that in one room and gets banned by pretty much anyone in it, they get automatically banned in all the other rooms.
Okay.
So like when that stuff gets spammed, we usually don't see it because they'll have been banned somewhere else. Um,
That existed when we were there, but I don't know if we took part in it.
we might
I
not
was
have been. I don't remember.
I'm in that room. I think to this day, actually, I think I'm still in that room. That's the like the community reports
Community
room or something.
moderation effort or
Yeah,
something, I think is what it's called now.
yeah, but I don't know if we ever engaged with it. I don't know. Maybe we did though, because I remember hooking up our bot to it. They asked me to add something to our bot so that our bot would like report our banned users. I
I'm
don't.
not sure in your
Yeah, I don't
case.
know, but either way, it's cool that you have that, and like it's nice to hear that it's working well for other people. I hope that it continues to as the size increases as well, which I think
The
is like the big question.
I think not bridging probably helps as well. I think bridged rooms might be an attractive target to like if you were banned on Discord, for example. It's harder to circumvent a Discord ban, but if you know that a room is bridged to Matrix, you might try and go there to spam your Discord server or whatever.
That was a big I remember it's crazy because like we had Matrix for so long and we really just yanked it out
Yeah.
overnight. And like I knew people were going to be upset. Like that was obviously a given when it happened, but it actually wasn't as upsetting as I expected it to be. People seemed to understand better than I expected, to be honest. I
Yeah.
think the most angry people were like frankly some of the like the other people that host rooms on Matrix. They seemed more upset than anyone else I know.
And having the forum as like a place to go to that wasn't Discord, I think helped a lot too. Because our forum is very active now, which is great. And I think it has
Yeah,
a lot more constructive conversations.
so much better. Oh my goodness. It's actually crazy how much better the forum like I love the forum cuz like it's just so
Yeah, I
much
do
more
too.
relaxing. Everything is like nice long form discussions. It's all very nuanced. It's not the same discussion happening all day every day. It's incredible. Um Frankly, I don't miss Matrix at all. Just like I don't miss Telegram. Like man, that's a throwback when we used to have a Telegram community. Um Telegram, I hate Telegram. I have no issue saying this is a personal opinion. I just hate using Telegram. Like I open Telegram and I'm like, this is gross. I hate using it.
Yeah, I've definitely used worse apps, but it's not great. And it just really, I also hate Telegram. It really bothers me that their whole marketing is as a security and privacy tool
It
when it
shouldn't
isn't.
be. Yeah.
It's the same as any other messenger. It's actually worse than most other messengers.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you
they're
could
going in a
use,
weird direction.
yeah.
Someone left a comment on our old video, like the old one that's like WhatsApp versus Signal versus Telegram. I need to do more videos like that because they're really fun. But like that video, someone left a comment like within the last week of recording this, and it's like, this didn't age well. LOL. Signal removing SMS support. Haha. And I'm like, did you not see like Telegram's having like NFT usernames now?
Oh,
And
really?
oh, you didn't see that?
No,
Oh
I
no.
have not been keeping
So
up with Telegram. I gotta
no,
look into that.
no, Telegram is now allowing you to like reserve your handle via some like NFT stuff. Um as like some kind
Ooh,
of revenue thing. Yeah, Telegram username
interesting.
auction marketplace.
Apparently, it's not. Well, this article says it's not based on NFTs, but
Oh, it
it's
does.
blockchain based, so it actually is.
It's NFT like smart contracts.
Uh, so NFTs.
It's NFT like. It's not an NFT. It's apparently not an NFT.
You know, Telegram has 700 million users?
I did not.
I did not know that either until just now.
Here, Telegram has handed over user data to governments. It's according to a new report, Telegram has reportedly surrendered personal user data to authorities in Germany. It sounds like they might have handed over users' IP addresses and phone numbers to authorities, which they do. This is from their own privacy. This is why I hate Telegram. Telegram has their transparency report, which is just a channel on Telegram. Like it's an
Hmm.
actual channel with no posts in it. So their transparency report is we haven't handed over user data, is what they're trying to tell you. Yet in their own privacy policy, their official site also says, quote, never disclosed a byte of data to third parties, including governments. But under their own privacy policy, Telegram admits to releasing users' IP addresses and phone numbers to authorities if presented with a warrant on terrorist-based charges. And then you group this up with Telegram not using end-to-end encryption for groups.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's not good. We should not use this.
Right.
I
I mean,
it's
even one-to-one messages, unless you
by
enable it
default.
by
Yes,
default, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And then you
So
can't use that on desktop. I think it's so bad. I can keep going on about how bad Telegram is.
All right, well, let's end it there. Before this is just a Telegram bashing.
Telegram hate video. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Uh, oh yeah, we're gonna get like angry. People really love Telegram though. That's one thing I'm
Well,
not going to understand.
I
Um,
mean, there's a lot of Telegram users apparently.
yeah,
700 million. Some of them have got to like it, I
yeah,
assume.
true. That reminds me of like the loyal diehard fans. This reminds me of the Vivaldi incident. um, so uh, we just posted that video, the Ditch Chrome video, and we put in Vivaldi's an honorable mention for those listening. And I looked at the stats for the video, and I saw that um, a good percentage of the viewers of the video came from like a Vivaldi URL. And I'm like, oh, did they put our video on their website or something? And so like I typed in the domain and I like went through their communities and eventually I found a post linking to our video and I'm like, oh, so this is where all the traffic is coming from. And it's a post from a Vivaldi team member, like an official Vivaldi team member, an employee for Vivaldi, posted our video and said Vivaldi got an honorable mention, but seems like the guy isn't fully sold on Vivaldi just yet. We'd appreciate it if you could jump in the comment section and tell him and his viewers why you think Vivaldi is the best browser. Thanks. And then people like left comments and they linked to their comments down below. I'm like, that's so ridiculous.
Why do they link to their comments? Do they get a prize in the Vivaldi community for?
This person said, I added my comment. Please upvote for great success. So it's so they can like upvote them and boost
Okay,
them up.
upvote each other.
And it's funny because I linked this on our Discord, and someone in our Discord community went to the comment they left and responded to the comment saying you should disclose that you're a moderator of the Vivaldi forums and were sent here by a Vivaldi team member.
Yeah, that's a strange situation to be in. Usually,
Yeah.
like brigading communities is not looked well upon, but
Yeah. You know what is looked well upon? open
What's
sourcing your
that?
browser.
Oh
That's
yes, we were just discussing that.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about Vivaldi. I mean, some of the stuff they do seems cool, but some of their decisions are just strange to me.
Well, it's not a privacy focused browser. I
Yeah.
mean, it has certain features, but like I don't see it as any more privacy focused than Opera.
Hmm.
Like it is more privacy. I'm not comparing the two directly like that. I'm just saying like I think Vivaldi would just do better to just be like we're a very customizable Chrome. Unless they actually wanted to commit to the privacy aspect of things, which is like
Right.
open source your browser. Yeah, see, like I'm going on their homepage right now. Customization options is the first thing they mention.
Hmm.
Better performance, productivity, and privacy. So privacy is like not their main selling point, but it's one of them. So like I think it makes sense in a video that we're telling people about private alternatives to Chrome for them to be an honorable mention. Like even
Yeah.
by their own branding standards. And if we go to privacytests.org, Vivaldi looks like trash compared to everything else.
Does it really?
Yeah, they have Vivaldi is closest to stock vanilla Chrome than anything else on here.
That's really interesting. Probably because it mostly is.
Yeah, just
Um,
without like Google data collection or very much of
right.
it.
I mean, if your bar for being a privacy browser is not sending all of your data to the browser developer, I guess that's fine. But I think like if you really want to be a privacy browser uh, and advertise yourself as such, like there's there's actual standards that you should probably consider meeting.
Yeah, I agree. We got a little off topic there.
Mm, yeah,
Is there back to content So I was really excited when we were talking about our moderation. I'm overall happy the Twitter thing happened because I've always had this long-term vision of bringing Techlore into more platforms where we can't easily be removed. Not because I fear people are I've actually been interviewed about this and I've been asked, "Don't you fear that YouTube is going to like shadow ban your channel?" And it's like I haven't seen any real evidence to show YouTube genuinely shadow bans a channel. Everyone who
yeah,
complains about YouTube censoring them, I'm just like your content is like not performing well. Like that's all that's happening here. And I can tell you why your content's probably not doing well. Like if you're making I'm not going to use examples cuz people are going to know then who I'm talking about. But like there's normally a very good way to tell why a video isn't performing well. And you have to go into the YouTube analytics to figure out what that is. The reality is that like the YouTube algorithm more or less is supposed to follow the audience. I know you
hmm
say that, Mr. Beast says that, a lot of people say that. And so like I haven't found any reason for us to think we're going to be removed from YouTube, but I also never thought we would be removed from Twitter. So I still like to have those backups in place because things always change, and I think that's a good lesson for everyone listening today. You never know what might happen to your accounts. So that's why we cross-post to Odyssey and PeerTube. So the videos are taken care of. Twitter gets cross-posted to Mastodon. That's mostly taken care of. The problem then is still like, well, if YouTube gets removed, we lose access to almost 200,000 people.
hmm
And so that's why I always wanted a newsletter. And I always wanted a blog. And I always wanted like a way to post news to people. Not like day-to-day news, but like once a month some big event happens and I want to cover it in some kind of like written news format. And I also wanted a place to be able to just tell people like, hey, I got banned from Twitter. Because the only way we have to do that right now is YouTube. If we don't post it on YouTube, we effectively cut out a majority of our audience. It has to be done through YouTube. And so that's why, like, when I talked with you, it was amazing that we could bring all these things together into Dispatch. Because
hmm
Techlore Dispatch is like everything I wanted in one place. And it's so freaking cool to see it happen. So I'm very excited for that overall because it's been a great journey to see how, like, one bad thing happening can easily be turned into a good thing in my eyes. So I hope that that's a success, and I hope that people like that because now it's pretty much their own platform. Like, I guess we could be removed from Substack,
Yeah.
but they have a pretty good history of not removing people's accounts on Substack.
So subscribe to our Substack, basically,
Yeah,
is the conclusion to this video.
join our forum because we own our forum and it's all open source. join our Substack because we own it, though it is not open source. If there was an easy way for us to do it, we would have done it. But I think balancing like the user experience with our time and energy and cost and like overall privacy was where we landed on Substack.
Mhm.
Well, is there anything else?
I Not that comes to mind.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate everyone who's listening. Um, Again, join our stuff because I think it's really cool, and it also enables us to more independently reach you. Because with Substack, it's an email. Everyone has an email. Even if Substack did remove us, theoretically, we can like still email people through like a different platform because we can export our newsletter and we can take it somewhere else. So no matter what, when you subscribe to something like that, people complain about YouTube not notifying them about things. People complain about um, not wanting to join a closed platform like Discord. People complain about not having an easy place to access what we're doing, and that's where it's at. So I hope that like fulfills a lot of the complaints that people have had in the past about like how scattered everything is on our ends, because like you have to join YouTube, Twitter, and all this stuff. Like no. But thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next week, maybe the week after for Techlore Talks 5. Normally we're like, it's not a good enough topic, and then we kind of like, we'll wait for a good topic to come up. And so thank you for tuning in. Also, I forgot, big announcement, Techlore Dispatch. This is a podcast now.
Oh yeah,
I can't believe I forgot to mention that.
and it's
This will
on
be
the
posted as a...
Substack. So since you're going there anyway to sign up, right? You can subscribe there
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And so you can listen to these as a podcast audio format. Substack tries to paywall the RSS feed for whatever reason, so I actually went out of my way to copy and paste that into each episode. So if you go and click on any episode, you'll find an RSS link and import that into your favorite podcast client. You're welcome.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you all next time.